Okay, welcome everyone. Again, um, today I wanted to check mostly um, some alt setups, given the fact due to the fact that we're closing the quarter pretty soon. So I think it's a good time, as any other time, like to check what can we expect with the monthly closing on certain altcoins, and then ideally we want to also separate them into two groups. The group of altcoins that maybe are lagging behind, and you are better off by shorting them in case we resolve the range here on Bitcoin to the downside. In case we go to the downside, ideally we want to focus on those structures to short, or if on the opposite case, if we actually manage to create this acceptance, as I mentioned this morning, right here above the 2022 VWAP, the more we create acceptance here, and we do not flip this daily trend to red, mm, I consider we're gonna go higher, and we're gonna probably visit here around 32K. Why there? Well, if we just look at the VWAP structure from 2022. Remember, I used this contract chart because I consider this the most accurate level for the trading I do personally on BTC. Um, Actually, if we take a look at Binance chart, it's a completely different picture because we are almost topping. However, the interpretation for that, in my opinion, and uh, based upon some conversations that we had on, on order flow, in particular with uh, Beren, which is a person I actually respect a lot. And I consider Binance volume data to be a bit more flawed than that. I think there is this controversy about them not trading with real volume, like not being actual accounts of people, of participants, but of CC trading. Um, I don't know. To be honest, we never know that for sure unless we're like some sort of financial investigators or something. That's not my job. So for the most part, I'm just using a best guess, and based upon data from pivots as well. We can say that we're close to a topping structure, or at least close to a level of where you can accept rejection from. It's not being overly biased to the downside, in my opinion, because I also mentioned that the trend on the daily time frame is still intact. So, uh, in the event of uh, something like this happening, creating the same type of structure, like a range after a big move uh, above this level, and clearing up uh, this price action right here. Um, if we are if we are familiar with the auction market theory, and we see this gap, and we see this failed to return area, so to speak, we're going to be dealing with pretty much the same situation we're dealing right now, where we had this huge gap, cover the gap, uh, clear the price action that is acting as supply right now. Notice how we're actually chopping at an area of supply. In other words, the market is more keen to actually absorb the market buying because there is an incentive to do so. I mean, if you're shorting or playing the downside in any shape or form, you do have a bit more of an edge right here in the sense that you will have more company, so to speak. You'll have more company from people also watching at this, also watching at the topping structure. But you gotta be careful with I won't call it manipulation, but you gotta be careful with something like this happening and you giving up at the worst point, missing this move. I don't believe moves are honestly missed, I mean, you're out. You're out. Not missing something you're never going to participate in real life. However, in terms of time, this can take a lot of time to play. Remember, these are 4 hour and daily setups. It's not as easy to sort of eat a loss after spending a lot of time on it. From what I can see, oh, we're moving higher. Okay, if you took the scalp, uh, I got stopped here and I didn't re-enter. However, I did send an update in case you wanted to retry. Um, the reason I didn't re-enter, even though the context was pretty nice to do so, here. This is same dynamic. We got a inefficient sort of move, not by any coincidence. It was around a gap, as we always speak about gaps, and a logical area for rejection was right here. I entered too soon, and I got stopped right here, and that's why I took a loss on this account. It was in 1K and something. However, the context for upside was pretty good, relatively good. So a long was worthy of being tried. Look at this. This is something that we also been discussing the last on the last streams and well since always basically since you know me. Why we like to trade on gaps? Why we like to trade on gaps is simply because this a path of this resistance for price. Right here it starts to get more complicated if we remember the picture we were just saying and why I always um, price is fractal. Fractal in the sense that a fractal is something that repeats ad infinitum within itself. Um, we we got the huge gap and we got an easier move towards the price action that could stop it. But whereas in the middle of a gap, we don't have much work to do. A little bit of market buying and not many incentives for sellers to actually step in here because of the price action itself, because of the what the chart is telling you here. You're pretty much alone. So if you're a limit seller, you gotta have sort of big balls to do that. And if you don't, you just try to go for the most logical trade, which is what we were have been trying to get in over the past week. And in the meantime, we've also tried to play the lower time. So I will explain to you why I decided to share that trade, and even if it wasn't successful on my end, there was a few readings that I consider are useful. Not this one. By the way, I also noticing like um, Bitcoin is the most important asset and most fun asset to trade. I've been trying some alt uh, setups, and they haven't been really rewarding. I think it's if you can handle the choppiness on Bitcoin and also I think it's even worse. So I want to explain why I consider this was a good setup on the beginning. As usual, at the time I was working with no indicator, no nothing, just the levels. And this was a different stop. It was higher. I got stopped right here. We all got stopped right here. So at the time I was considering price was indeed weakening below the weekly pivot. However, I also considered this was the first attempt, and it was a reasonably high, big week on, on this relevant area of concentrated volume. So what I wanted to do at the time is say, okay, I will start bet on a reversion. I mean, reversions are my favorite type of setup because they're quite fast when they happen. And here was a bad read on my side. Yes, I literally got stopped and started again. However, at the time, I also wanted. well, I consider this to be a strong enough boy tail, so I wanted to use it. Then I lowered the time frame to this too. I went 5 minutes here as bias time frame, and I went directly to the 1 minute chart. That might have been a mistake, but to be honest, the trade that followed this one, which was a successful play to move to play, um, I think was also using this 1 minute trend following indicator. So I don't think it was a terrible idea to go lower. Uh, when the days get choppy, you might want to trade lower time frames in that sense. In that the more micro you go with the fractal you're trying to find, uh, I think the more chances you have to manage to get something out of little volatility. However, volatility will increase because of lack of liquidity on very small time frames. So you gotta be careful with that as well. At the end of the day, um, trading will be whatever you do out of the information you get. And in this case, I make bad decision, and well, I pretty much missed. I don't know. Yeah, I pretty much missed an almost 3 hour trade. But it's okay. It's just one loss. I think the benefit of having this faster moving type of system, and also I'm telling this because I think you might not be familiar entirely with how I like to work. And if you're following me now on the talents thread, I don't want you to be discouraged because of a few losses. So it's not cope, even though it sounds like complete cope. But I have reason to believe that this same system applied over the long run it works. So that's reassurance, so to speak, when you are trying to move to follow like this particular way I trade. So in any case, I want to explain that. If you remember a bit after we got stopped, I made this comment about paying attention to this price picture right here. And if you want to tell me why, and try to guess if you've been paying attention to the other streams and why do we decide it is a reasonable trade to expect this, I'll be glad to hear it. If not, I will just tell you. And the reason why I consider this structure could happen because of the same reasons as always. We started with the context. Context was reasonable attitude upfront on mid. This is a 30-minute chart over a weekly VWAP, and we hadn't tested it since the last time which was a few days ago. So I consider it was an actually reasonable idea to play the long right here. Then if you have missed this entry, the other possibility was this, and there was two chances of why enter right here. The first chance, the first reason to enter right here is because this was going to be a break or a stop run, and then a reclaim of the weekly pivot. So you had a contextual level to play close enough. It wasn't right here. I think if you ask me, this was a high probability trade that entered in right here alone because of the pivot. So that is one reason. The other reason was that there was still a bit of a gap to cover, even though this move right here sort of covered it entirely. You could have still played it because of the reclaim. If there was no success in reclaiming, which is the trigger for the entry itself, this would have most likely end up reversing lower. So this part is, I think, quite key when it comes to the trigger of the execution. It's not only about plotting a chart and say, okay, look at this, I'm a genius. It's even though you can do that. I mean, I'm not saying this is possible, but working around the key level, I think will give you a sense of security of not being engaged alone based upon a best guess. At least it's a best guess that you have tested. So that on one hand. Uh, if I were to in this trade, I would probably just exiting right here because we are facing the same situation. We cover the gap entirely, even though the 1 minute trend is relatively strong. We're starting to see signs of lack of incentive to keep on buying. Maybe we retest and on a later hour of the day we get a move to complete the entirety of this gap. It's not out of the cards, but remember, you think on time frames and why we use different time frames. The main reason to do that is that you get with the higher, this is 3 minute higher time frame in comparison to this one, which is 1 minute. You create a bias, and then you monitor and execute your bias according to what the chart is telling you in lower time frame. So that way you're a bit ahead of the curve in terms of what do you want to see ideally from the market and what the market is actually showing. So that will be it for this trade. I apologize we got stopped and I didn't officially recall, but if you read the reason to retake it, I think could have been provided that at the end of the day, so to speak. I have this rule about not taking trades immediately after I got stopped because I tend to do pretty bad decisions while that. So that would be it. So now we'll go back to altcoins. This race is finished for the most part. I would have exited here. This we'll go back to analyzing 4 hour charts and daily on altcoins. I think that is the main idea for this stream in particular. Maybe we can check this, and then we're gonna make a list to what to expect for the next start of the month and quarter as well. Now give me a moment. I'll be right back. Okay. So let's just start with what what has been more interesting to look at over the last month. Let's say I have this organized by what the hell? I have this organized by what we're gonna be organized by the there we go by performance. Holy shit! This is something I've been noticing a lot. Like and that's why I personally am interested in sort of let's just go. I've been seeing a lot of these wild pumps on certain canals. I don't know if you've been around um, in the last bull market in 2020. Uh, many, I'm not calling a bull market by the way, but many alts which had this crazy run during 2017, let's say, uh, ended up doing some sort of this accumulation period on incredibly low volume and basically a dead market. As you clearly see, this is backholders capitulating essentially. And then we had this sort of it can be a very market rally to be honest, but the thing is, it's like a week or so of continuous price action moving higher, which is super refreshing when you're doing it, you're trying to do your best on a terrible market, and even if especially if you're a sport type of trader that doesn't have many chances to play this is when you probably can do those big swings. And we're trying to look for something like that, to be honest, like these rounded bottoms, which tend to bait a lot of people as well, right here, and can send pricing a little bit lower again. We don't know when this will bear market for real will end, and this is something also which puzzles me a bit. Um, I also remember that we, as a collective group of traders, let's say, not in a group or in particular, but on the internet, like crypto traders, didn't really, myself at least, I was not convinced the bear market had started when it did, let's say, in November. It's like that infographic of the Wall Street. Fear and greed cycle where it is like delusion and then the Wall Street cheat sheet. That is the one I mentioned. I'm referring to. I say. I think we might be in a part of delusion or negating the fact that markets have been moving higher for a good while. I mean, for since the start of the year, we actually have had a pretty hot market to the upside. So that is something also like to don't be extremely bearish because you're being sort of disciplined by the market over almost like well yeah, and it's not almost a year, but a good amount of time, a lot of months of pure pain and food after food and capitulation and whatnot. It's okay. I understand it, but just as a reminder, we also thought that at this point this was just a pullback. So we might be also thinking that at this point that this is like this rally will fail like the others, which is a very common thing to see or to do or to. I mean, we are literally conditioned to play lower right now, and every shot and every rip is like too short. This can keep going lower. Everything can keep going lower, of course. However, just as a reminder, don't be of the group that completely disregards the signs of the market telling you this. You're also not only going to probably lose money, but you're going to lose a lot of time, and time is important. So just do a basic rundown of levels. Why this coin? Because it was like the coin that moved the most during the day. It's a nice way to focus on something that it might be hard in the recent times, and if you see those outliers as well, For instance, like we often tell about Link or some boomer coin pumping a lot and use that as a sign of reversal. I don't think it's entirely true, but it can help you. For instance, I do believe that on Wi-Fi. I think Wi-Fi is probably one of the most terrible projects ever. I remember it had a crazy run in 2020, and I don't know why. I don't know why the hype died so much. So the fact that something like that comes um, can make you think. So let's just do a quick rundown on pivots here. One here, one there. Do we need to mark this one? Yeah, probably. It's a nice area. It's a nice area to pay attention to. If we man, as always, I mean, remember the idea of the pivots is that we get close to an area and we will try to look for reaction. It's not a place to set limits exactly. I mean, you can, but the idea is to set up the context first. Then we move to weekly and daily. One second. Okay. We move to weekly and daily. What do we see here? I don't know why I had this. Did I even? No, probably was not because I would. I might not be a fantastic trader, but I most certainly wasn't using a negative stop loss. Okay. Looking for weekly places of reversal here will be one. Get another. I will mark this one, but to be honest, we're most likely going to close above, so I will look instead on the daily time. Like that. Okay. This one. I don't know. I don't know. No, I will not use this one. I will just leave it like this. And here we go to the 4 hour time. This kind of reminds me of the XRP type of bottom and sort of accumulation and then huge move. Is it unlikely that this will retrace completely by like it has done like every time basically? No. We are rejecting from 2022 VWAP as well. I might have to rethink my thesis about Binance volume being fake. Yeah, because this is quite a precise move. It's a very precise rejection. And I like how it also aligns with this part of the range. This would be an excellent play. As soon as this managed to flip, like just what Bitcoin is doing, managing to flip this will probably be a very easy to invalidate trade in comparison to something that you might chase from here, for instance, because here we are below the VWAP. VWAPs are just of a lot of volume. So you usually can expect a lot of chop within them. Let's just use this as an example. This this price this price action right here that we literally come from. Uh, it was done at the area of most volume while changing trend as well. Very violent trend, no? Yeah, I wouldn't be looking to short this right now. Like, if this is going, this is what the market is going to do. We have seen this with XRP as well. We had an overheated week. News events are honestly also not affecting as much the market. Um, if we're going to be bull again, I'd be paying attention on stacks, sorry, around this area of 0.80, 0.77. Yeah, around here you have this little gap to play up until the next pivot. There is not much resistance in the way. No, there is not. So you can probably place another right here. There we go. So let's jog. Whoever did this, but let's see if we can play a reclaim. A reclaim will be the highest probability trade in my opinion because of the same reason. If you let's go back to this. Um, we had this idea of lower boundary of the VWAP being significant. We also had on the higher time frame this idea of the VWAP itself being significant, and it works on the inverse too. If you remember this, is getting failing to create a volume outside the VWAP channel. The entering it, there is a very high chance that this fully reverses. Uh, and one of the other sort of rules about the auction market theory framework is that one of the only ways to stop an auction from fully reverting is entering lots. And this is sort of what the market is considering now as a balanced area, which is near to 20, it is near to 28, in my opinion. Therefore, we can do expect a lot of chop right here, but if the chop fails to go up, it will have a very easy move towards this range right. So the idea is not to say this can go up or down. It's how can this move up or down. So we avoid the trades here unless it's a clear opportunity, and then we are starting to get more excited, so to speak, or more interested in the market when we get easier invalidations for a higher risk reward. Here we had an easier invalidation for a higher risk reward, and at the moment we failed to create let's say a reclaim of this VWAP again. We're going to be looking for the same. We're going to be looking to fade the move for a move lower, but we're gonna have an easier invalidation, and that will be the main reason why we want to interact at areas of the extreme of the value, not maybe right here. Like if this trade would have been right here, I wouldn't have entered because the context for a reversion was worse. Let's just say because there was a magnet for price being the VWAP right below, which ended up being more important, and that I ended up rushing it. But here you do have that smaller range of invalidation. You know you're gonna be wrong if we don't hold this, so you can enter a better trade. And what's the idea behind that? The idea behind that is that you lose 1% here if it goes wrong, but you can gain 3% here if it goes right. So you don't need to win as often. That is the main idea of looking for trades that do extend, and why I might be greedy at times with some trades, particularly with Bitcoin scalps. I think it's not that difficult to find a trade that can yield you a nice extension. We have done it in the past. I know they are real. I know they are happening every day, but it can get tricky at times. It can get tricky at times. But we're trying to hunt for bigger moves. We're not necessarily trying to hunt for playing the small chop after huge moves because that might not be as worthy of your time. So coming back to this example, here, if I wanted to anticipate this reclaim, of course, I would have sort of a better risk reward. But what is the problem right here? The problem, if we enter a trade too soon, will be that I have no idea where to invalidate. It's like, okay, where do I actually invalidate? Ideally, will be here because realistically speaking, the the place I can be sure I'm not I'm wrong at will be re-entering the current VWAP channel there because it's, as I mentioned with the auction market theory framework, uh, market will tend to reverse to areas of most volume when it fails to auction. So I will have to wait a lot of time probably and be stressing about the position that can fully mean revert. I think the chances will be clearer, and that's what I think you also got to understand um, when to tighten the stop and when it's reasonable to just leave it wide or not play at all. Here you can tighten the stop because it makes sense. This is an area of very high volume, even though it can chop a lot. We have seen the same example with Bitcoin, and why a long on Bitcoin will not be entirely crazy idea. Let's just go to Bitcoin for a second, and we'll compare the charts. So we had this coin that I don't even know what it does, and we also have our beloved Bitcoin, which is sort of showing us uh, the the possible scenario it could end up developing. We'll use hands. There. Yeah, there we go. The PC is lagging a lot today. There we go. So we know that this is possible. We know that flipping a level and creating acceptance is possible, and we also know that these areas can act as a tough resistance. In this case of this coin, is like acting similar to Bitcoin right here. It's acting with an initial rejection of a level that hadn't been touched ever since it closed. So it's reasonable that there is a rejection. However, the moment we create acceptance, the movement upwards to the other side of the value range, in this case, will most likely be fast. So you can be sitting on a trade that yields you a better result if you wait for those key reclaims. So what is a reclaim? I mean, we've heard this word a lot, and it can be sort of a buzzword that we used to not be entirely clear by what we mean. I used to tell that to myself a lot and say, okay, I will long on this reclaim, but I couldn't explain to myself what was a reclaim. Now I try to use volume tools to understand if a reclaim is valid or not. You can use the regular volume right here, and if we are creating more volume around above an area of previous huge volume, you can anticipate that as the market getting more interested in trading right here. Then you can dissect that volume and see, okay, what was actually happening right there, and that will be order flow, which is what we're going to cover tomorrow. How to analyze, how to dissect order flow live. Um, you can dissect the action and the auction from both things and say which party was doing what. we don't care about why people are selling or why people are buying, if it's for long term, if it's CC buying with his home accounts or whatever. What we need to more or less tell ourselves is that story that says, okay, this site is going to probably be more benefited if things go that way. And that is also sort of the idea behind the trap traders and type of style. Uh, we discussed that on the first stream, and I said that yes, it can be considered like a valid way to trade, but the thing is, it might be too complex to try to understand every single move on terms of why it's happening. It's maybe simpler if you just make a set of rules and of triggers to act upon those rules and just execute based on that. So one of those rules I found is the pivot system that I think is pretty useful to trade, and I'm gonna keep using that. But let's go back to this to the as I was mentioning, this trade is gonna be probably a higher probability if we long it above the previous year VWAP. And for that, we're gonna have to wait. So we set our alarm and just wait there. That will be one of the trades I'm interested in going long. This is the other. This might be even related because look, this could be a pump from people thinking that they were going long stacks and they long stacks. This is super common. Yeah. I don't know why this gun has been so bullish lately. Like there has been a lot of hype about talking about this, and where it is. And it's doing more or less the same in a chopper in a more messy way. Let's just call it. Sort of flipping previous year VWAP here, managing to get above a monthly pivot, double confluence, and you can go long. This coin in particular, Stacks, I think is trying to do those huge fakeouts. Yeah, I see. We've seen this also like in 2020 with some coins that people thought, oh, it has already pumped a lot, and it does the most perfect sort of flip of support and resistance, but not without taking a lot of people out. So that's why I fucking hate altcoins. At times, to me, they're very messy. They're very difficult to understand in the same way I could maybe understand Bitcoin price action. I think I have more of an edge there. But in any case, let's just do a rundown on this one as well. Many many monthly candles on altcoins are looking sort of okay. Yeah. It's also interesting to notice how so many so many coins are doing these extremely random pumps. I am not a person that asks a lot why the things are moving. But some things are quite suspicious. Quickly pre-runs. Probably use this one as weekly as well. If you hear the slurping sound, that's me. I'm drinking uh, from a straw, quite literally slurping. For instance, this case, let's take this as an example. Going with the basic death cycle, completely death cycle. And this is absolutely awful. And backhold capitulation. Levels of interest. We market the levels of interest on the higher time frames. But it's simply too difficult for this to be sustainable when it happens this way because of all the profit taking that takes place at, of course, key levels. Like it's not like the people that actually manage to do some accumulation. This right here, if you want to pay attention to how accumulation of coins can look like, is something like this, like this. It's like these are the literal test pumps. This is a test pump, and you see it's almost the same amount of always. It's very calculated. What you do here is if you're a person in the that has bought here or maybe has the intention of moving this market higher. And there's a good article on this. I will link to you. It's called The Art of Deception. It's an article that has been for a good while on the market, but it essentially tells you that these are test pumps. So you bait people into thinking, oh, okay, maybe this is going higher. And then people get taken out, and then the actual pump starts. Uh, I don't understand the dynamics exactly, but I understand this pattern. And then you get this monstrous massive rallies. This doesn't mean that the rally is over. Doesn't mean that the rally is over. But the fact that there are clear areas at which to take profits makes me think of and the effect that profit taking had in the market makes me think that this sort of manipulation, yeah, it is a way of manipulation because you sort of do it in a calculated manner. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this price action. Otherwise. Um, Makes me think that there is some interesting profit taking right here. We will link you the article. Let me find it right now. Okay, can't find it. The deception. That was this. The game of deception. It's there. It's interesting. I honestly not super interested in all the time, but the way I've seen play the the way I've seen play is the bull cycle, the past bull cycle. I think it's something to actually pay attention to because you can actually start looking for this type of thing and decide to buy a spot to make some pretty nasty gain. Even if you're well, you can for those figures. I'm posting the article on my thread. There we go. So what can we learn from all this? What we can learn from all this is that the system is basically always the same. Is there a at this stage is there actually a surprise that we have such a big move over such a thin gap? And for me, it will not be a surprise if these newer gaps are also covered in the same way as soon as the market starts to, well, to rock, because there is no reason for these things to go higher. Fundamental reasons can be there. I don't say cannot be there, but fundamental reasons actually only matter, to be honest, when you get people bidding the coin and moving it higher, no matter the price. You need that mania that can come from whenever. Can come from basically psyops of convincing people it's a good idea to buy at certain levels. You need that. You need to sort of engineer demand, and the market is huge. Something that which I consider is very true at this stage is that sending price higher for some reason is the best the best bait. It's like, oh, have you seen this thing that pumped 2x in a day? Oh, might be a fantastic idea to buy right here. Maybe it does three more x, and it's true. At times it's true. That's why I think it works. It's like when you buy out of money options or a lottery ticket. It's like, okay, what if it works? Okay, what if it works? Then you can probably put some money in that bet. Like for instance, what if this has yet another leg up, and we go here? Oops, and we go to this next area. Am I not going to make like 100% of gain? Yes, maybe, of course. It doesn't mean you have to put a lot of money right here. Actually, if you were to buy this coin at some point, it would probably be right here because you have an invalidation which can be below this level, and the monthly pivot. You have a target which makes it worthy. What's the only issue right here? And if you let's see if we've been learning something over the streams. Only issue right here, besides this beautiful query that I did, is that we are actually retesting from within and reversing uh, within the current year viewer. So the main problem right here, besides the fact that we are trading within two higher time frame pivots, and besides the fact that we've been rejecting pretty hard, I think the main problem right here in order to go low now and just wait would be that we are re-entering the value. So a sort of 80% of setup is being played at the moment, more than anything else. This could still be a reasonable idea because of the concentrated volume area, but I wouldn't bet exactly on this. Again, what would be maybe a more reasonable idea? We go along right here, and we can play this right here. It's less risk to reward, but we have a clear target that hasn't been reached for the time being, a clear resistance at which we can start to trim some, and it's still a reasonable good amount from the stop. Yep. Uh, we have an entry based upon the reclaim of a key area, and at the time, if this happens, we will be creating and if this happens on high volume, we will be creating a higher upper boundary for the VWAP. Therefore, we would be able to make a tighter invalidation, maybe around here, so below this area of high volumes, below this area of consolidation. I mean. So it's a matter of preference. I honestly think that would be a better idea. Same with the other reclaims tend to be a good idea. Let's just see this coin in lower time frames. But without this, okay. Okay. For instance, right here, we could be playing something. Let's just split the screen in two. Mm. Okay, look at this. This was something from way before. And I was mentioning right here that as this area was basically a gap, and a gap from here was a bad place to absorb selling. Is an area that indeed, when we return to it, it will be most likely a bad place to absorb selling. Same as right up to right here, it was a terrible place to absorb. This inefficient move leaves another chance to be. This is the beauty of trading gaps. To be honest, it's like it can be pretty dumb, but the moves are super clear. Like they don't have to make any effort to cover a place where essentially no one is willing to step in front of, and that's why we will value them. So in any case, let's just go to analyze this, because there might be we have a good context right here. We have a reasonably good context being made of the monthly pivot. I see on the 30-minute time frame that this downtrend could start to change. We do have a gap right here. This area is inefficient. We do have an area of a reasonable TP where price action will most likely start making more effort to how to say, how to stop any sort of market buying that might enter right here. So we can start analyzing it with our usual tools. Let's hide the view up. And let's turn on the trend. Okay. Looks reasonably good. Not really any exhaustion level. I mean, there were two on the 15-minute time frame, but they were invalidated. Now the trend seems to be changing. If Bitcoin were to retest this level of here, let's just say, yeah, 27,990, and this will most likely end up around this area, which is a good confluence. Let's just take this out. It's a good confluence because let's start with the same process. Context: we are trading above a monthly pivot after retesting for the first time in a while, so it could be a worth place. Triggers to enter will be to retest this trend that is newly formed, and that as the this is important. I didn't mention it yesterday. The most far away price state is from the ribbon of the trend, like right here, for instance. It was quite far away. Right here, still far away. It means that the trend is stronger. You can say the same right here. This is a much less clear downtrend because of all the chop which is in the orderly sort of sell. Up to this point, the trend that started here, according to the indicator, is being a bit more clear. Therefore, the moving average, the whole MA, is acting in a responsive enough way, but you can still put some weight in what it's saying. What is the case right here on the 5-minute chart? We got a strong uptrend, followed by this type of movement. First retest of the trend gave us a really nice move, but now as it's starting to go closer, look at the difference between this space and this space is closer, and as price is starting to crossing it, actually much more than here, the trend is starting to change apparently. So you can either enter here and anticipate the trend to be extremely strong and maybe TP here, which is reasonable. Or the other option that you have is to create your buys with the 15-minute trend. This will, if we have such a big retest up to here, which is still above a key level, and that we expect it to hold, and this to be a bit higher. Even if the 15-minute trend shows that it's starting to turn negative, like something like this, we had a nice move, but then it became negative. The moment you get the reversal, let's just say is there something like this, or is there something like this? But then if we start to get this type of price action, sorry, I know it's terrible, but you know what I mean. If we start to get this sort of price action when the trend changes above a key level and we start to get uptrend in auction, similar to here, you can enter on the first touch of the trend and you most likely going to have a pretty nice push. Of course, it's Bitcoin is shit in the bed. It's not going to happen, but that's why I always like to have the shit. I always like to have Bitcoin on a different chart, so I can check the auction at the moment. So I might keep an eye on this one. Actually, I might even call it if you agree with the thought process. Be ready for it. Yeah, let's look for that. Okay, now I have to go, but it was nice to do this. I was honestly, if I had to be completely honest with you, I'm not really feeling super excited or anything today. Actually, a bit, I don't know, a bit down. Maybe the market as well. Maybe the not so good week we've had. I wanted to have better trades ever since started the thread, and I sort of have high expectations for myself and for the trading that we do collectively. So sorry if you've been disappointed by the start. This is me. This is being a human being telling you that things are going to be fine. I'm doing my very best to put good content. I'm enjoying this new part of my life as well because it reminded me of when I started in crypto, that I was like sort of super excited to trade and super excited to also continuously learn. And even if it was sort of a bumpy road and I've seen a lot, I'm still here and I'm still happy, and I want to be a good trader for all of you that are following me as well. So that will be it. Thank you, and I will be talking to you as always in the group, and you can also ask me about anything you want to discuss about live trades or whatever. Uh, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. So thank you for that. Thank you for the continued support you do. Um, let's just keep being patient and playing the systems that we've been working so much time on developing. I think that consistency will be key. And thanks again. So see you guys.